Story 2. The Echo of the Empty Bench. Every single evening at exactly 6 o'clock, a middle-aged man named Arthur would walk into the bustling Central Park of the city and sit down on an old, green wooden bench near the oak trees. He wore faded blue jeans that were torn at the knees, a worn-out brown jacket with frayed sleeves, and heavy leather boots covered in a thick layer of grey dust. Arthur was a manual construction worker. He spent 12 hours a day under the scorching summer sun and the freezing winter winds, lifting heavy concrete blocks, mixing cement, and climbing dangerous scaffolding. His hands were rough, filled with painful calluses, deep cuts, and black dirt that never truly washed away. Despite his exhausting days and his aching muscles, the moment Arthur sat down on that park bench, a strange transformation occurred. He would reach into his old backpack, pull out a small, cheap paper notebook and a broken pencil, and begin to write. 4 hours, under the dim light of the street lamp, he would carefully write down complex mathematical formulas, advanced physics equations, and detailed scientific diagrams. The wealthy people of the city, who walked past the bench in their expensive suits and designer clothes, often looked down at Arthur with pity or deep disdain. They saw a dirty, poor laborer writing nonsense in a notebook. They whispered to each other, assuming he was a lonely man with no education and nowhere else to go. Arthur heard their whispers, but he never looked up. He kept his eyes fixed on the white pages, his pencil moving rapidly until his fingers grew numb from the cold evening air. 10 long years passed in exactly the same way. Arthur grew older, his hair turned entirely grey, and his back began to bend slightly, from the heavy weight of the stones he carried every day. Then, quite suddenly, he stopped coming to the green bench. The bench remained empty for weeks, and the people in the park completely forgot about the dusty construction worker. A few months later, inside the grand auditorium of a highly prestigious American university, a brilliant 23-year-old young man named David stood on the center stage. He was wearing a beautiful black academic gown, and around his neck hung a shiny golden medal. David had just received his doctorate degree in aerospace engineering, graduating at the very top of his class. In front of him sat hundreds of wealthy professors, proud parents, and international students, all waiting for his graduation speech. David walked up to the microphone, looked out at the massive crowd, and held his golden medal high in the air. His voice trembled with deep emotion as he began to speak. "My friends," David said, "many people look at me today and think I am a genius. They think I achieved this incredible success through my own intelligence and hard work. But the truth is, I did not walk this path alone. I am standing here today because of a man who cannot be here. 20 years ago, my father had a brilliant mind for science, but he had no money to go to school. When I was born, he made a silent promise. He chose to work in the dirt so that I could fly among the stars." The auditorium became completely silent. David wiped a tear from his cheek and continued, "For 10 long years, after working 12 hours of brutal physical labor, my father sat on a hard, cold park bench every single night. He studied my university textbooks, solved my complex engineering problems, and taught me everything he knew under a street lamp, just so he could help me pass my exams. He wore torn clothes so that I could wear this graduation gown. He destroyed his own body so that I could build my future." The entire crowd stood up simultaneously, bursting into a massive, roaring round of applause that echoed through the walls of the university. Miles away, in a tiny, dimly lit rental room on the edge of the city. Arthur sat alone on his small bed, watching his son on an old television screen. Tears of pure, overwhelming joy streamed down his dusty face, washing away the tiredness of a lifetime. He looked at his rough, calloused hands and smiled. His quiet sacrifice had finally found its wings. And the empty park bench had answered with a triumph that the world would never forget.